spook easily startled.
Have you ever explored the depths of fear? Have you ever wondered what depravity dwells within the imagination of a storyteller that prompts them to exhume horrors untold and expose those horrors to unsuspecting audiences? Some are repulsed, and some are shaken. However, there are those who are invigorated. So to those demented souls, we invite you to journey inward into the dark bowels of human imagination. Press play, and you will discover what's in the podcast.
All right, let's do this! You know the drill. Say, talk to me.
Talk to me.
And welcome back to another edition of What's in the Podcast. And for this one, we are putting our finger on the pulse of what's going on in the horror world right now. And what's happening in the horror world right now? Well, Cobweb's not doing that well, damn it! But we have another one that has actually garnered not only a pretty decent box office in the midst of Barbenheimer, but also a lot of critical raves and big shock. It's from A24, the one studio that actually values filmmakers. So we feel no reluctance to talk about this amazing horror film that just came out from Australia, the film Talk to Me. And of course, I don't want to sit here and just talk about my own self. That's what TikTok's for. So for that, I'm bringing in a wonderful friend, also a fellow Floridian, only they are on the West Coast. I am living here in the land of the mouse. Bringing in Sparkle in the Darkness from TikTok, aka Janie. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is so fun.
As long as it's fun, that's the most important thing in the world. If it ain't fun, why are we doing it? You know?
Right.
So what is your origin story? What brought you to the world of horror?
It all started when I was a young child that wanted to watch Friday the 13th, and my mama told me I couldn't watch it with her. And then I kept bugging her about it. She finally let me do it. I got through the first scene, and that was it. I covered my eyes. But ever since then, I guess the horror bug bit me. And I've been intrigued ever since, and just testing myself a little bit more and more as I go.
So I'm assuming Jason a personal favorite? Is Friday the 13th a personal favorite of your?
Yes. And I would say that was my favorite slasher, but then I watched Halloween. So
yeah, for me, Friday the 13th, I love just for sheer entertainment. It is, I think my admiration for that franchise comes from the fact that Sean Cunningham vocally said, "Oh, I just wanted to rip off Halloween." Just yeah.
You see, and because I watched Friday the 13th and my little pea brain as a kid, I was like, they're copying Friday the 13th. You know, I was a kid. I didn't know any better. But
so what is your what's your top installment of that one? What's the one you go to the most, like to rewatch?
Out of
what's your favorite?
favorite.
Friday the 13th.
Oh,
Friday the 13th.
Part 3.
All right, you and Lynn would get along famously because that is Lynn's top. In fact, Lynn loves that one so much, I got them a replica of the mask from Friday the 13th Part 3. And even better, it's got 3D things in the eyes.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
I mean, just the music from the beginning. And I love Chris, the final girl. It's my favorite.
Moving on into the realm of A24, I mean, one would definitely like to think that A24 has been at the forefront of a lot of titles, which we can safely consider are going to be new modern classics of horror. And it's very impressive that all of this is coming from one, I don't know what to call it, a studio or a distribution company, but it seems like they get these movies from like all up from various parts of the world. Talk to Me, and for example, actually comes out of Australia, which, if you know Australia, their history with horror.
Yeah, they are brutal.
Oh, well, they could be either really brutal or really tongue-in-cheek, or they could be very cerebral. I mean, the Babadook came out of Australia, and it's like, and that one just hit people like a ton of bricks. No one expected. But then, meanwhile, yeah, you're right. You get something like Wolf Creek that comes out of Australia, and then it's a completely different affair in and of itself. What would you categorize Talk to Me as?
I would like a horror, but a more deeper. Gosh, I don't want to say elevated. I really hate saying
Yes.
elevated horror, but I
Good.
would
Good.
in the realm of say like Hereditary. I kind of felt like I hadn't really been hit by a movie like that since Hereditary.
Yeah. I think to help, actually, I think the name for movies like this should be allegorical horror.
Perfect. Yes.
And I know that one has been kind of tossed around as a much more accurate alternative to the slur that is elevated horror. So so, and I think a lot, and I'm going to lean harder on that because I always love when horror takes very common, the kind of stories that you would see in just regular drama or even after school specials or all those things that are just done normal. But I love that they inject some kind of horrific element to really hit home the point, because I'm going to say it right here and now, did we ever really learn any lesson when we just watched it as like a basic after school special? Did we ever learn the lesson? Yeah. Funny enough, if there's one movie that I'm going to pair, and for those who are curious, talk to me in terms of allegorical horror. From my perspective, this is a film about drug addiction. So, and so with that, and funny enough, there are two movies that come to my mind in that same camp: Bliss, and my personal favorite, Brain Damage, which are two drastically different films by comparison.
Okay, those are going on my watch list because I'm not seeing either one of them.
We're not talking about Brain Damage. I could talk about that like forever, and I have in my past. But Talk to Me is a different kind. So, going into that, let's go ahead and can you give me the synopsis of Talk to Me?
Okay, well, basically, I'm just going to say, so these idiot teens decide to contact the spirits by holding this embalmed hand in a fuck around and find out movie.
I've seen two ways how this scenario usually goes. It's either fuck around to find out, and they find out and they pretty much never come back intact from it. But then you've got those other ones where they're like, "We love you, don't do it," and they recover afterwards. It's like, boom. So yeah, but a movie like Talk to Me is not the kind of movie I knew going in. I was like, no one's getting away clean on this sucker. This one's definitely not going to hold your hand, and I'm happy about this. It doesn't. I will say flat out, this movie does not sugarcoat. It does not hold back feelings. It does not compromise the story's integrity for the sake of what the audiences would rather want. And because of that, the movie hits. I was about to say hits harder, but then I'm remembering a particular scene in the movie.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
yeah.
I cringe just thinking about it.
Yeah. So we are going to, so for the start of this, we're going to try our best to be as spoiler free as possible. But when we start bursting at the seams, we're just going to have to hit the fuck it button and just, I just had to censor myself from censoring myself. So, we're going to hit the fucking button and just start with the spoilers. So
I feel like I have to do it so much when I'm on camera. It's just so refreshing and nice not to have to censor my language on this podcast.
Well, and beyond that, it just feels kind of weird to censor yourself when you're talking about horror, because the essence of horror is about going there, going to the dark places, going to the places that people are afraid to go. And with that, you're going to talk about some pretty harsh things, so you might as well just like let out the cursing. This is a feature film debut by Danny and Michael Philippou. From what I understand, from my limited research, they came out with just some YouTube shorts, and apparently those shorts are so good that they got funding for this feature film debut. And this one was so popular on the festival circuit that honestly I thought it came out ages ago. You can imagine my surprise to find out that it only just now came out in the theaters. What did you hear about this one going in?
Oh, I all I heard was positive buzz. Like people that had seen it in the festival circuit loved it. So I was really excited, but at the same time, kind of cautious because you don't want to go in with your expectations being too high and then you're disappointed. But no, it did not disappoint. And I feel like it definitely lived up to the hype.
I, like a lot of people, have like their trusted sources, like the people who they go to first, and pretty much everyone in my circle was like, "No, this is legit. This is." I I will flat out say this movie, and this isn't just rhetoric, this is my number 2. And I'm gradually building up my best of a list all throughout the year. This is my number 2 of the year so far. This is a movie I did not expect to jump out of my seat as many times as I did. So how did you react to some of those moments when you...
Oh my gosh. Jumped out of my seat. I was horrified. I wanted to look away, like when you're looking through your fingers. One scene I did have to look away. We can talk about it when we get into spoilers, but
Oh yeah. We got to talk about it.
Lots of strong reactions here.
I guess we've sung praises onto it enough, but I mean, what are the nuances to the film that you felt really stuck out to you the most?
Oh my gosh, it's so hard to like talk about this without spoiling anything. I just love that it went deeper than I thought it was going to. Exploring the grief, that kind of thing. It was a little more complex than I thought it was going to be. So you had the fun part. It's almost like it was a couple, like the first part fun, and then it got more serious.
Yeah. Only just a couple months ago, we got The Boogeyman, which was another one I absolutely loved way more than I expected to. But the major thing was that one was a great meditation on grief in and of itself and approach it from a different perspective. This one it focuses on it from a alternating perspective, and I think the grief and one thing I love when a movie tackles grief is that no grief is the same, and the nature of the grief usually tends to come from like the nature of the loss. I mean, if it's like a natural cause, like if it's just someone dying from natural causes, cancer, and it's like too soon, that's different. But then you got something like this in this movie. So the first major thing, which we can give away because it's kind of like at the beginning of the movie, our focal character Mia is still dealing with the grief of her mother who has committed suicide. And unfortunately, in her home life now, her father is not handling it the best way. He is cagey, he is restrained, he's pretty much stonewalling her. She has no understanding or comprehension as to why her mother did it to begin with, and she knows that her father knows, and it's because of that, and it's because of that uncertainty that leads Mia down this dark path as we go down. So I think we've left it at this point. I think you can agree we've sung praises enough about it to tell everyone just go see it right now.
Yes, for sure.
So, and so I think we're both in agreement. This movie's fantastic. It's amazing. And we're doing this to you now because we really got to talk spoilers right now. So you have been warned. We are talking spoilers, and we're talking spoilers right now. So,
oh, hell yeah. Spoiler time. Love it.
Spoiler time. That was quicker than I expected, but that's how dense this movie is. And in order to really get into the nitty gritty of why this movie works so well, we got to talk about the nuances. So the first thing, this movie kicks off with a hell of a cold open, like a cold open, which I think is one shot. I think it may have been a one take one. Yeah. So, and it starts hard, it starts heavy. And the funny thing is, I've seen scenarios like this before where someone busts in on someone, but the way they staged it and the ferocity of it, and just the way the camera's choreographed, so you get hit with it. So it starts with this guy busting in on a party, very clearly trying to find his brother, and he starts banging on the door. Like, he is not just knocking on the door; he is ramming through this door made of formica, whatever. I was like, hope that door was under warranty. So
yeah, didn't the guy say something about his mom? The guy that it was his house. Yeah.
Yeah. So tries to drag. Yeah, he drags his brother out, or actually, no, he doesn't try to drag his brother out, but then he goes out into the kitchen area. All of a sudden, his brother comes in with a damn knife, stabs him. Whole party goes nuts, and it's like
audible gasp. I was like, okay, so we are starting. We're doing this. We're doing the damn thing. We're starting.
And then he goes out onto the patio, and just does a big old thrust of the blade right into his own head. And I was like, it was such a, I don't want to say throwing you into the deep end, but it definitely makes you intrigued about what the hell induced him to do this.
Right. And didn't they have the phones out when he first came out?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Because a whole
gosh,
bunch of people at this party are, a bunch of these people at this party are filming everything, filming, and the guy's like saying, shut off your damn phones. And it's like,
right.
we are so obsessed with filming everyone else's humiliation. I mean, just that stab. Normally in a scenario like that, it's always done so slow and so like they just do a nice slow cut across the throat or something like that. I was just not expecting the ferocity and just the spontaneity of that moment.
It was so jarring.
Yeah. And the scene was already like high energy. Like you didn't think that it was going to escalate any further than that. But then all of a sudden jumps on him, stabs his brother, goes out to the patio, stabs himself. And it's like, man, what? And it's like, this is just in the first like 2 minutes of the movie. It's like, what is the rest of this going to be like? So then we're introduced to Mia, her best friend Jade, and also Jade's little brother, Riley. Yeah. Sweet little Riley.
Yes.
Yeah. I've known so many Rileys in my time, like that little brother who likes his sister's best friend, and it's like so sad. And you see like there's actually like a sweetness between them. Like it's not like she's creeped out by him. Like she actually legitimately has affection for Mia has affection for Riley. There is a sadness because before all this goes to pot, you see that she found solace with Jade and her family. It's you feel like she at least has someone who gives a shit about her, and it just makes everything that goes on just all the sadder because it's like this sweet thing that's going on is just going straight to hell. So
yeah, it's like her second home, and they're like her family.
Absolutely. And you're sad for Riley because of the affection he has for Mia, and also going back to this angle that it goes to with drug addiction, the whole thing kicks off when they go to this party that's being run by Haley and Jose. And there's this fad been going around where people are recording people doing some weird new party game, which everyone's like, oh, that's fake. It's fake. It's not real or something like that. The party game comes in the form of this ceramic hand with markings on it, and reportedly is a embalmed hand of a medium. And now the way the game is played, a person takes the hand, says, talk to me, and instantaneously they will see a spirit on the other side of the table, or it'll basically look like they're holding that spirit's hand, and they will say, I let you in. And the whole point is that they have a 90-second time limit, because if they go further than that, it's going to be harder to come out of it.
I don't know. I'm not trusting anybody to time that accurately. That is a lot of trust to put in another person,
especially someone like Haley.
Oh my gosh,
Haley
the asshole.
Oh, Haley, played by Zoe Taraki's fantastic. Grade A asshole performance. It's the classic pusher character who it's like, why do you hang with this person? Because they got the drugs.
That's right. She had the hand.
Yeah.
Or they had the hand. Oh, Haley. A dick from the very beginning. I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna love this person.
Yeah, I love the actor. Don't love the character, but I don't love the character because the actor did an amazing job making though. As the story goes on, I'm actually impressed that even Haley's recognizing that things are going bad, and even they're saying, burn that damn thing.
Haley got better. Yes.
Yeah. I was impressed. But
I was surprised Haley stuck around to help out a little bit.
So as the things go, Mia ends up trying it for the first time, and she has a rush. She starts becoming like allured by this party game. And well, of course, she's got to keep doing it over again. She ends up having an impromptu house party at Jade's house, where they bring Haley, Jose, and of course they bring the hand. Only this time now, unfortunately, Riley was there when he watched it the first time. the thing I gotta say I love about the way this one approaches it the same way that as you've seen in those after school special drug addiction things where it's peer pressure and it's every single person who tries it is trying it for a different reason. And I love how everyone who does it responds in the same way as someone does when they try it for the first time.
Daniel.
Daniel.
It was Daniel.
Yeah, he tries it and he freaks out like almost instantaneously and leaves the room because he couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
And yeah. And but then poor Riley, because he has such affection for Mia, and he ends up getting pressured into it, and because he likes her, he wants to impress her. And unfortunately, that's where things start going bad. And that leads into, how did you react during this when Riley starts wailing on himself, smashing his face repeatedly
Okay, what
into it?
really upset me is they got to the 50 seconds and Haley actually was okay. I was okay with her because they said 50 seconds are up. We need to get him out of this. And Mia's like, no, just a little bit longer. And I get it. It was her mother that she thought she was talking to. Obviously, she was not.
Mm-hmm.
That then I knew something really bad was going to happen, but I didn't know it was going to be that bad.
And Riley starts smashing his face, and he even tries to pull out his eye. I was just like, I mean, in order to save his life, to stop him doing it, Jade has to pretty much allow her hand to get broken to stop him continuing to smash. Oh man.
And he still kept doing it. And see, this is what gets me is Jade, the second watch, I paid more attention to her, and I'm thinking, I have a younger brother too. He's 4 years younger.
Mm-hmm.
And watching this as a big sister, I'm like, Jade, you're kind of a shit sister. You wouldn't let Riley stay there with you. I would have felt really bad for my brother. Okay, fine, you can sleep on the floor, whatever. When they did it the first
sleep on
time.
the floor. Yeah.
And why the hell Riley went to go stay with Mia when she scared him, when she had been momentarily possessed? She's the last one I would have gone to stay with. Because remember, she's like, oh, I like you. On the first time that she was possessed by the hand, they targeted Riley then, and she's like, I like you. And he was so scared. So I would not have gone to stay with Mia. But of course, he couldn't stay with Jade. She wasn't going to let him stay there. She forgot about him at the beginning to pick him up. Mia went to go pick him up. So she's already shown she's a shit sister. And then she left him alone with everyone knowing that he wanted to do it. As a big sister, there's no way in hell I would have left my brother alone in that room knowing he was wanting to do that.
And even worse is the fact that Mia thinks that in order to fix everything, they've got to journey deeper into the rabbit hole in order to figure it out, because unfortunately she is being fed lies by these entities. They are baiting her. They are begging her to come in, and they want her to just keep going. So they are trying to force her to keep giving it to him. It's, again, you take away the ceramic hands, you take away these ghosts. This is a full-blown metaphor for heroin, for like so many forms of addiction. Heroin addiction, crack cocaine addiction, probably even crystal meth. It's that idea where you have these addicts who say, I can kick this, I can kick it. I just need a little bit more so I can, just a little bit more so that way I can buzz off, so it's not like cold turkey or something like that. And the bit that freaks me out is that when Riley comes to, he goes back to just starts beating the shit out of himself again. And it's like, that
was so hard to watch. He was he looked horrible. And then for him to continue with the beating, oh my goodness, that was. And then he's on the floor and he starts licking the blood. I just can't even.
And that's a hospital floor too. I don't care how many times you sanitize it.
Yeah.
I don't care how many times you sanitize it. That is grody. That is grody. But obviously he's not thinking about that. But the major thing that's baiting Mia into this is the prospect that she gets a chance to reconnect with her mother. Because unfortunately, the thing that set this whole thing off is that Riley, when he was doing the game, implies that he was talking to Mia's mother. And as she is continuously taking the hand and going deeper, 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 she is seeing she keeps seeing her mother, and her mother keeps telling her, your father's lying to you. Your father, your friends don't, in order for you to save him, you have to give him to us.
See, this is why
now-
people have to watch horror. If Mia would have been a horror fan, she would have known that in possession movies, a demon will lie to you. He's vulnerable, and she would have known it was lying to her.
Yeah. I mean, we all, I'm going to say this now. When anyone says we need to, people need to be more conscious of their pop culture so they know not to do these things. But ultimately, stupid decisions are pure human nature, especially when you are in a sensitive state, a state of grief, and you can't let something go. I mean, obviously, Mia's state of mind is perfectly punctuated. Early in the film, they see a dying kangaroo on the side of the road. And I believe it was Riley was like saying, we need to put this animal out of its misery, just run it over. But Mia can't bring herself to do it. It's the idea that Mia can't she can't let something go. She wants to kind of labor onto some optimistic ideology that, things might actually turn out okay. Like, who knows, divine intervention. It'll just get up and walk across.
And that is the one moment in the movie that I had to close my eyes and could not look. I cannot do animals getting hurt in movies.
Yeah, well, I got into it with some people about this particular topic. I mean, like, I got into it with friends about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I'm like going, these are CGI Muppets you're dealing with. These are not. Now, I get it if it's like something like Cannibal Holocaust or something like where you're seeing brutality, like horrible brutality towards an animal, like, and it's convincing, like it looks like a real animal, and we're seeing it. I get that, but I don't know. when they start making the animals act like people, I'm thinking of it more of them as regular humans.
Yeah,
kind of thing. But I don't know.
Just
That's
such a softie.
That's
It doesn't take much for me to get weepy.
Don't get me started on John Wick's dog.
Oh my gosh, no. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I love John Wick, but I have to skip the dog scene every single time.
Mia's mindset right there. It's the idea that she can't bring herself to let something go when she really should. And
she's highly vulnerable. It was her mother that she lost. So I can't even really fault her.
Oh yeah.
State of mind.
I would definitely tell people to watch this in a double feature with the Boogeyman, because both of them involve unaddressed grief. The idea of people trying to come to terms with a death in the family, but there's something unresolved that they need to be confronting, but there's someone who's holding that back. Because much like the Boogeyman, Mia has a father who he himself is, you could tell, suffering silently, and thinks that this is the best way to deal with it. And unfortunately, because he's not talking about it, because like the title says, he's not talking to her and not confronting this issue, they are not able to move forward from there.
No, can't heal that way.
No. You can't ignore the wound. You got to put the bandage on it.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you do bring up Boogeyman, because it's the two girls and they've both lost their mother. Yeah.
And have a father who is having a hard time verbalizing it and having a hard time figuring out how to address it. I mean, sometimes believing suffering silently is the way to go, but unfortunately, sometimes not addressing it affects those around you who need desperately to talk about it and find themselves resorting to tactics that are not healthy. In this case, becoming addicted to something that is very, very obviously dangerous. So this to me is more, I would say, in the vein of either heroin or crack or crystal meth or something like that. I mean, a long time ago, we would have said it's the reefer, but
the devil's lettuce. But no, I definitely agree. I agree.
Actually, the thing that haunts me is just the final scene of the movie, that final shot of her walking to the light. You don't know what's happening. And then to find out that now she has become someone else's cycle at the tail end of it. That final shot was wrenching, or just that final reveal. Of course, I'm left to wonder, how the hell did that hand get there?
Yeah. Weren't they talking about how there was another one out there? There was rumored to be another one. And I'm assuming it was the other one.
That's actually, another scary thought would be how many actual ones are there out there?
Well, my brother noticed too, it was the opposite hand because he said one was the left hand and the other one he noticed was like the
You're
right hand. You know, it was the opposite.
That's right. The one that Mia was messing with was, and the guy who was talking to her, I think it was his left hand. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, but let's talk about how awesome Jade and Riley's mom was. Miranda Otto.
Most people know, everyone knows her as Eowyn, Eowyn from Lord of the Rings. I'm infinitely sad that we don't get a chance to see her do so much more, because she is still a freaking wealth of talent.
Love her.
And not only that, I love a good mother character where they're so casual with their kids as far as just the natural repartee. I'm a big fan of that, and I feel like, that does make me, and it made me sad, especially again going back to the Riley incident, because they do a good job establishing this family as actually being a legit loving family, and then that happens. My immediate thought was, oh man, the mother is just going to be, the mother's going to be wrecked.
She is a mother that I wish my mother, I love my mother, don't get me wrong, but she seemed more like she kept it real. You know, she's like the kind of mom you could, she knows what's up. She knows what's going on.
Do you think she may have been too loose with them, and that's why they felt it was okay to have an impromptu party in their house?
You know, coming from having parents that were a little more strict, I'd have done it anyway. So
yeah,
it was going to happen regardless of, you know, whether they felt too comfortable with her or not.
Well, and it is established that Sue is the mother's name, that she very clearly was a hardworking mom, probably isn't there a lot. There is that also possibility that she's also not 100% aware of the people that Jade and Mia, and even Riley was hanging out with a kid who didn't seem like he was the
best kid to hang around with.
Yeah. So there's that. So it's that idea that they're aware of aspects of their life, but it seems like they don't know how far it goes. Kind of like Holly Hunter in 13, where it's like she's aware that there's something going on with her daughter, but she doesn't know the full extent of how far they are.
That's another one that's like, I would imagine terrifying for like a parent.
Yeah.
13.
And then just to find that moment when she sees her son just mangled, and the fact that only just a couple of hours prior, her daughter was promising her that we're not going to have a party, nothing's going to happen. Imagine the whiplash that she gets when she gets the call at work, you know, assuming my daughter's not going to have a party, and then all of a sudden, oh, by the way, your son's in intensive care right now. He just smashed his face in multiple times.
I can't even imagine. And then looking at him, how horrific. Can you imagine having to leave work and to find that? It's
I don't even want to fathom it. You know, that, I mean, I would get like that if I found out my cats had their tail run over. Not lethal, but I don't want to think about the idea that the poor cat's suffering. So, but it's that same principle. It's like, and this movie kind of, I think the pattern, I think everyone watching us, I think is going to get, or listening to us, I think you're all going to be realizing that this movie hits you and just, I don't want to say assaults you, but it definitely does not. It puts you through the ringer, I think is the best way to say it. I mean, I'm impressed. I'm amazed I'm delighted. Obviously, it has rewatch value because you went to go see it a second time. So
absolutely, yes.
So what did you get out of your second viewing in compared to your first one?
I feel like I got a lot more. Like even going towards the end of the movie where Mia it decided it was going to be her, and she ended up not pushing Riley out into traffic, is she remembered, or her mother was talking to her, and she said something about, I'll look out for him. He'll be with us forever. And I remember that at the beginning, when they were going to do the game, they were saying, you know, if you die while they're in you, you're theirs forever. And I think that's when the light bulb went off and she decided to do what she did. Little details like that I caught more of, like Jade being a shit sister, like
Yeah.
just little things like that I happened to catch the second time around. I feel like, and going back to like Hereditary, I feel like every time I rewatch it, there's something new that I catch that I was not aware of before.
And that's a big deal. I mean, for people like us, we see like so much per year. I mean, I actually a lot of times forget what I see per year, which is why now every time I see a new horror film, I use my letterbox strictly for archival purposes, so I can remember everything I saw for the first time in the year. So it means something when there's a movie that hits you so profoundly that you need to watch it again, but you also know that you're going to get something out of it when you see it again. Or actually, what was it I said on my Twitter? I actually said, this is the feel bad movie of the year and everyone needs to see it.
That's perfect. The feel bad movie of the year. Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're not going to walk away from this movie feeling, a sense of joie de vivre, but you're definitely going to think twice about passing the bong from someone you don't know or someone you don't trust.
And another thing, I watched it twice and I thought the second time it wasn't going to hit me as hard, but that scene with Riley in limbo in the in-between or whatever, with, oh my goodness, where they were like,
oh man,
tearing him up, whatever it was, I don't know what the hell was going on. But the second time around, yeah, I looked at my brother and I'm like, yeah, it still got me the second time around. That was crazy. This wasn't like Insidious. The Further is like
no,
nothing
it was
compared to what Riley was going through.
Okay, I'm gonna be bad here and be horrible, but it kind of was. In my brain, I was hearing the theme from Society. It looked a lot like the shunting. It looked a lot like the shunting.
Oh.
The only thing missing is that wonderful operatic theme song, go and we all sing together. My brain immediately
I will never be able to unsee that now. Riley in limbo.
In limbo doing the shunting. And unfortunately,
yes.
If you've seen the shunting, you know what happens to the uninitiated. So it's like,
I have not watched the movie, but I have seen the shunting scene because I looked that one up on YouTube.
Missing out. Society is, not only is it one of the best like quintessential 80s commentary on attacking the rich, man, that movie still holds up to this day in terms of the stuff it tackles. But I'll still maintain the shunting is just a masterwork of fucked uppery. Yeah, Screaming Mad George earned his moniker with the work he did on that sequence. So, but that is a talk for another day. So I think it's safe to say we have hopefully sold this movie to everybody at this point. Hopefully anyone who has seen it and is listening to us feel the same way about it. For anyone who has any other things they want to add to the conversation about it, definitely comment. Was there anything you wanted to add in terms of this or just in general about what you hope for this movie?
Well, my brother had asked about, do you think a sequel would be good? And to me, it was like, let's not cheapen it with a sequel. I think this is a great standalone movie.
Yeah.
I hope that these guys that directed it, I'm just going to call them Raka Raka because that's their YouTube channel. I hope to see more of them.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of with that too. Nowadays, as much as I enjoy sequels and I get a kick out of them, you got to earn it. You got to kind of like justify it, having a sequel. I would don't do what Smile did, where they compromised a potentially great ending for the sake of cheap sequel baiting. Don't do that. That was kind of, but this one, on the other hand, I just love the idea that it's about a person who succumbs so horribly. And even though she does one act of redemption at the tail end, it's too late for her. She's already long gone. And that's the tragedy of it. And I'm perfectly content of it never going beyond that. So with that, I feel like we've tapped this one for all we can. For leading off, tell everyone where they can find you.
You can find me on TikTok at Sparkle in the Darkness. I also have a YouTube channel, the same, Sparkle in the Darkness, and an Instagram that I'm not on too much, but TikTok's the place to find me.
TikTok is the place to find you.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where I found you, and that's what led to this conversation. I have had no end of fun being a horror talker because of wonderful people such as yourself, and definitely hopefully we will run into each other in many a horror con to come. For everyone else, if you have seen this movie, again, leave your comments on what your feelings on the movie, and if there's any movies that you all want us to spotlight or review, feel free to chime in. I'm always open to suggestion, unless it's Jeepers Creepers. I will never touch any of those.
Fair enough. Yes.
Fair enough. So Google that fucker. You'll find out why. If you don't know, you need to know. So anyway, such a happy note to end this conversation. A happy note to end this conversation about a movie about succumbing to drug addiction. So yeah, happy conversation. All right. So in the meantime, if you are pondering the depths and the darkness of human imagination, just ask yourself, what's in the podcast?